So as I said, I'm Detective O'Hara. I'm here with Detective Jake Schwecke. And would you state your name and spell it for us? Okay, and what is your position here with the university?
I'm an assistant professor in the Department of...
And we had in our notes that you had requested to talk to an investigator?
Yes.
Okay. Well, before we get into that, how long have you been working with the university? Okay.
Not I think. I'm not sure how many years that means.
Totally get it.
Okay. Awesome. Have you been in this position the whole time?
Yes.
Okay. In this position, I've never taken any criminal justice classes or any criminology, so you have to bear with me on some of this stuff.
Yes.
How much face-to-face contact do you have with the students?
Now that we're back, we have, especially grad students, we see them for 3 hours every week in class.
Okay.
And then there's office hours that they can drop by and talk to us if they want.
Okay. And what classes are you professor for? What do you teach?
So I teach a lot of the boring stuff, so methods and stats.
Okay.
But my area of specialty is sexual violence, and I do teach a sexual violence class at the undergraduate level, though.
Okay. You said at the undergraduate level as well?
Yes.
Okay.
In the grad program, mostly just methods and stats.
And I'm assuming you've followed the investigation. Well, you know that our suspect is Brian Coberger.
Yeah.
Did you have a significant amount of contact with
Yes. Coberger
within the? Because as far as I understand, he was only around for this one semester. Is that correct? The fall
Yes,
of
that's
2022.
true. Yeah.
Okay. So when did you first have contact with him?
I would say the first week of class, so my class was on Thursdays, and I guess the Monday was the 22nd, so maybe August 26th or something like that.
Okay. And was that in a class setting, or was that an
Yes.
orientation meeting, or?
So there was a barbecue at the beginning that I didn't go to, so...
Okay.
But yeah, so I saw him for the first time in the class.
Okay. And what class was that?
Research methods.
Okay. Was he in your stats class or the
So the
sexual
stats was for more advanced. Sexual violence, I'm teaching it now, but he did request to be in it.
Okay. So the only class you had with Coberger was for methods?
Yes.
Okay. I guess tell me about that first interaction you had with him.
It was the first day. I think everyone was a little bit stressed.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't know. I would say nothing stands out much other than wanting to dominate the conversation.
Okay.
Yeah.
Hey, real quick, do you mind if I interrupt for a second?
No, go ahead.
Just in thinking this, because we don't know why you wanted to talk to us,
Yeah.
Can we just start off with what she wanted to come in and talk to us about, and then we'll go back down our line of questioning?
Absolutely.
Why don't you tell us what you have for us, and that might lead to more questions.
Well,
for us.
so my understanding, and I just want to clarify this, now that there's been a warrant served, I can talk about FERPA stuff now, right? Is that true?
Yeah.
Yes, okay. So the week right after the murders, he was not in my class. He sent me an email about not being there. The paper he wrote for that class is about burglary. So I don't know if there is something in there. And I know it's part of the stuff that I'm preparing and turning over.
And that includes the email that
Yes.
he sent to you?
Yes.
Okay.
And that paper that he wrote will be part of that as well?
Yeah, because it was FERPA protected, but now that there's a warrant for it. And again, like, I don't have all the details. There might be something in there that's helpful. Like, I don't know.
Okay.
So I think that for me that paper is relevant. The absence right after. And I also saw him, I was covering for another faculty for a Tuesday class right the week after the murder as well. And he was really, really late that Tuesday class. So.
Okay. Is there anything else that stood out to you?
I think it was pre-murders, I'm not sure. He had something on his hands and I asked him about it and he gave me, but I think it was pre. Like, I don't remember, I didn't note. But he saw me looking at his hand and he said, "Oh, you're probably wondering what this is." And he gave me it was a silly accident. And then completely flushed when he explained what happened to his hand.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay, and when was that?
Again, I remember kind of late semester, but that could have been beginning of November.
Okay.
But I remember like he was a big double, the two middle, and he had big band-aids. And he said something, and I don't remember what he said, but it was something about it happened indoors, and I remember thinking that didn't happen indoors because it looked like, you know, when you scrape on asphalt, like, and it was, anyways. But that's probably nothing.
Right hand, left hand, you remember?
Yes.
So on right hand, and when you were saying the two middle fingers, which ones are you pointing at?
These two.
Okay.
Like the longest.
So right next to your pinky,
Yes.
and then
Yeah.
your middle index finger.
And for
Okay.
2 weeks he had
not
band-aids.
index. Okay.
Okay.
That's it. The other things is I can talk to you about how he was in classes, and
Yeah, I
he
mean.
didn't like very much strong females, if you want my opinion.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, what was his interaction like in the class? How did he interact with other students? How did he interact with you?
So it was he wanted to dominate the conversation. He would systematically be late to my class, like every week. To the point where 1 week he wasn't, and I just looked at him and was like, "Hey, you're not late today." And he just did the awkward laughing type of thing. He cornered me after the very first week. He cornered me because I had not given him 100% on participation for that week in the hall. And many people heard that.
Okay.
So, but it was just, and I do think though that he learned that I was not reacting to this very well. And my feeling was by the end of class, like I would deliberately not call on him because he would always be like, and even thinking that he should be the professor and assigning who should talk instead of me doing that. So, but he kind of learned and was more like contained, I would say, by the end of class.
Okay. So when you say you would deliberately not call on him, in your class, is it open for dialogue?
Yes, that's a
okay.
seminar, right? So we're all in circle and we talk kind of thing.
Okay.
Yeah.
And you would just deliberately not
Yes.
call on him because why? What was the reason?
Because first he always wanted to talk, but like go on these monologues and
Okay.
and then correct other, like I can do the correcting if there needs to be, like things like this.
Okay. So in that, is it more of like it's open for questions, or is it more for the students to state their opinions?
Yeah.
And would he, I guess, how would he present his opinions or his ideas?
At first, I would say kind of more, this is it. And I would say in terms of research methods, which was a topic, right, there's place to argue a different way of collecting that same information. So, yes, but he would, yeah, he knew better. And of course, this is secondhand, but one of my students well, obviously I'm not American and I have an accent, but one of my students texted me that because I'm a foreigner, he knew better, and he was telling that to other students.
So would it be fair to say that he would state his opinions as statements of fact rather than just
Yes.
his opinion of how things should be done?
Yes.
Okay. Did you ever notice any interactions between him and other students that would be unfavorable? Or either
Yes.
way. Either way.
So, and I think I need to protect FERPA for the other students. I won't name names, but
Absolutely.
I'm aware of, because I was in I'm not the only faculty that has an office downstairs, but I'm the only one that was there this fall that has an office. So Brian's office was there and all the new students. But one day, another grad student came running, crying, like tears streaming, and told me that she had left class because of an interaction with Brian.
Okay. Did she describe that interaction to you?
Yes, but I'm going to be heavily paraphrasing.
Okay.
Like something like he said something that was very sexist, I guess, and she called him out on mansplaining.
Okay.
And then he dug his heels and kept
Okay.
to the point where she felt she needed to stand up and leave the room.
Okay. Was he aggressive toward her then with that interaction?
I don't know about that.
You didn't actually see the interaction.
No.
This was her coming out of the room crying and came down to where your office was at.
And
you
where
saw
her office was, and but
Okay.
I saw her, like, so I just quickly checked in. And
And you said this was a graduate student in the
Yes.
criminal justice program?
Yes.
Okay. It's likely, I'm not going to ask you to name any names, but it is very likely that we've talked to her already because there's a vast number of the criminology and criminal justice grad students that we've talked to already.
yeah,
So,
If we're not getting the name, would you mind reaching out to this student and verifying she has been interviewed? And if she
Yes.
hasn't, we would definitely be interested in contacting her or having her contact us.
Okay.
And directly getting that information.
yes,
and you're welcome to, the cell number that I texted you on, that's my work phone. You're welcome to give her that number
Okay.
and my information if she hasn't been contacted and she would like to
okay,
have an interview with us.
I will do that.
Is there any other interactions with students that you can recollect? Positive or negative?
That I guess, because I was the only one downstairs, I will say that I got a lot of stories,
Okay.
but you need me to have witnessed it, right?
Not necessarily. Secondhand information is useful as well. So.
Okay, so we have. So, I heard a lot of stories. Let me think through. So one of them, we have a student, and I'm not going to name them, but I think giving the characteristics might identify them. But they're both. And it was, Brian told her to her face that he needed his partner to be physically perfect and it would not be okay. Like things like this. I have lots of stories like this, but not a lot of them were said like in front of me.
Okay. Yeah, and that's fine.
But I was kind of the point of contact where a student would come in my office, recall the story, and I would go and talk to me about it and what we could do.
Okay. Yeah, and like I said, anything that you can remember, even if it is secondhand, you just heard it.
Okay.
That all helps us because it kind of helps corroborate other stories that we've already heard or potentially new leads that we need to follow up on. So, whatever you can remember, and again, like I said, positive or negative, if there's anything either way that really stood out to you, that's all helpful information for us.
One of my students had a positive interaction, and and he said something to her. Oh, I could never understand like what your experience is like. That's literally the one positive story I heard.
Okay. So out of all of the stories that you recollect, there's only one positive that you
Yes.
remember. Were there any positive interactions that you had with him personally?
So I think Brian's research interests were very, very much aligned with mine. And I will say we've had lots of conversation about that. So, you know, he kept saying that he wanted to study emotions and decision makings. Like, I've done that research, but for sex offenders. So I don't want to say it was positive, but it was, you know, regular, you know, collegial, you know, professor with a grad student talking about what it means and like what kind of insight we're having. So I had a lot of it, and he read like a lot of my research. I know when he had to do a paper on another class about a faculty, he picked one of my papers. Like, my feeling is that he wanted to work with me, but he never formally asked.
Okay. Well, can you recall any of the other stories that you heard of students in your, you know, that you overheard in your office, or students that came to you directly that wanted to share an interaction with you?
I'm trying to. So there was this. He said something homophobic. I classified it as homophobic. I don't remember what the story was.
Okay.
Oh, and I was asked that again. I was asked by staff because I'm at long hours at the office kind of thing, like mostly 8 to 5 every day, and I'm one of the only professors that does this. But I was asked to check in on the work study because Brian was like harassing her, so if maybe some nights I could help walk her out or something like this.
Okay.
Yeah. Oh, these ones I witnessed a couple of times. I don't know why I forgot about this, but the grad student office that's right in front of mine had some of the female grad students that he was interested to, I would think. And he would go in there and block the door. And every now and then I would hear, "I really need to get out of here," by one of the students. And I would kind of step out of my office, go and like literally make my way to let them. Because one of the complaints was that he wouldn't let people leave. Okay. Like, he would physically block the door when they were having conversations.
Okay. And even at a statement, "I need to leave" or "I need to get out of here," he wouldn't leave. He would just try to continue to force that conversation.
Yes.
Okay. Is there anything else?
I think that's it.
Okay. Is there anything that you can think of for us that might be beneficial to this investigation?
It's only the paper, and again, I don't have all the, like, I will. It's for to be scanned later this afternoon. So it will be turned over. I don't know if maybe there's something in that paper.
Okay.
Yeah. He really wanted to study burglars, like, and again, my research started with my first 2 years of my research was studying sexual burglary, so people that break into houses for sexual purposes. Mm-hmm. And he was very against sex offenders. I don't even know how to explain it. And I kept saying, "Okay, Brian, but those are the same principles, right? They are human beings, and yeah, the emotions might be a little bit different, but if you think about it, and also if you look at the research on, you know, other types of burglars, the excitement is still a very strong factor." And it would always like, no, it's not the same as a sex offender type thing. Like, he really did not want sex offenders. And I remember being, okay, that's intense, like, as not a sex offender.
Okay. And when you're saying he was against sex offenders, what do you mean by that?
He was, I mean, like, academically, he was very intent that regular burglars had nothing to do with sex offender who commit burglaries.
Okay.
Yeah. it was like a completely different motivation, or yeah, I've been thinking about this a lot in light of things, is what I would say.
Okay. Did he have a specific, I guess my question is, did he have a specific stance on sex offenders as a whole, or just as it pertains to the methods of burglary?
I would say just as it pertains to the methods of burglary, like, yeah.
Okay. And you mentioned earlier that he was always late to your class. What was how late would he usually show up? Anytime
from at least 10 minutes that it would be like noticeable to an hour, I think, once. But then he showed up with a note from his supervisor, I think, saying, "Oh, there was an exam review." I don't know. I have the note. I will turn it over as well.
Okay. So as far as his class schedule is concerned, are you aware of the distance that it might have been between where he would have been previous to your class? Did he have a class that was previous to yours, or you don't know?
No.
Specifically his class schedule for the days that your class was?
No, and it would have been, so all the grad classes, so the class for his PhD are always in the afternoon, 2 to 5, and we only have one a day. So it would have been the classes that he was TAing for.
That he would have potentially been at before your class?
Yes, but been at to support, like not to teach, because he was not teaching yet, but yeah, to grade or...
So in that capacity, he would have been excused to leave that class to be on time for your class?
Oh yeah, and I checked in with his supervisor for that class, and he said, yeah, I've told him to just leave and be on time, and he kept not being on time.
So in your conversations with that other professor that he was TAing for, did he leave the class early enough to be on time, or did he continue to stay at that class?
He continued to stay in that class.
And was the class over when he would leave?
No. He would still have to leave.
So he would still have to leave that class early.
Yeah.
He just would not give himself adequate time to get to your class on time. Okay. Do you have any idea of why that would be?
I do. I know that the grad students have a poll.
Okay.
They literally started, because as part of his PhD, he had 3 courses, right? 2 by females professor and 1 by a male professor. And they started compiling how late he was to the female professor classes versus the male. And we compare note in the last meetings of the year, and literally late for every single class for the female professor, and not even late once for the class with the male professor.
Okay. Yeah, and that aligns with what we've heard a lot of already. So
again, it's speculation though.
Yeah.
Like, we don't know that, but it's like this micro, like, I don't respect you quite enough.
Okay.
Yeah. And it felt like that, interacting with him.
Okay. Did you ever bring it up to him?
Yes.
Did you bring it up one-on-one? Did you bring it up in front of the class?
So
I know you said the one instance where you referenced him being on time.
Yes.
Did you ever call him out for it in the middle of
Well,
the class?
that one, "Oh, you're on time today," was right in front of everyone, kind of thing. Yeah. One-on-one I did when he would just argue and argue and argue. And I said, there's, what did I say? There is something to be said about a white male telling a grown female professor that he knows better. And then he gave me I have a gay friend, but I have worked with women before, and that's not what's happening. So no kind of insight into his behavior, I would say.
Okay. And in the...
obsessed with serial killers. He would talk about it in class.
Okay.
A lot. And talked about working with, I don't know, it's been in the media, but whomever the woman was that taught him and that had published, I don't know how many books on serial killers. I talked about this in class, yes.
Okay. You said, so there's somebody specifically that taught him about serial killers and books that he read?
I think in his prior university, so I forgot the name.
Yeah, we're aware.
Okay. And I'm sorry, I know I asked the question, I may have missed it. Did you bring up him being late to him one-on-one? Did you guys
No.
you didn't have a conversation about that? Okay, so you did, other than the comment about him being on time, you never confronted him about being late to your classes?
No.
Okay. And
Because at some level, I'm going to be honest, class was just easier when he was not in there.
Okay.
But you know, the week after the murders, the week that he missed,
Mhm.
at the end of class, I think 3 female grad students came to me and said, "Oh my God, class was so much better today, like just easier to navigate," kind of thing. So it was like a palpable. Oh, and physically in the class, everyone, we would, circle around the table. So they would all circle and they would leave this empty space, and Brian would sit next to me every time. Like,
Okay.
that's how I saw his hand. But I'm pretty sure that was, I don't remember when that was. Now I'm like going to note every time a student has an injury. But like at the time, yeah.
That's understandable. Yeah, you have anything?
Yeah, one thing. Actually, and this is going to be a little difficult because we've sat and we've talked about Brian for this entire time. What I'm thinking is, though, setting aside the potential for him being the suspect for 4 homicides, setting aside all the conversations we've had and your speculation after he was arrested, tell me about Brian, your opinion, your thoughts, your emotion. Who is Brian Kohberger before all of this happened? If you can do that, it's difficult to step aside now because your time and actions have colored who we
Yes.
believe this kid is. Who was Brian before? Was he an asshole? Was he a nice person who was misunderstood? Was he a mess? In your own words, who is Brian Kohberger to you prior to all of this happening?
Okay. This is a good question, and I will tell you why. Because we had a faculty meeting right before the Christmas break, at which time we did not know any of this. And we discussed every single one of our grad students. And he was the one that took the most time because he was highly problematic. And here's what I told my colleagues. I told them, he is smart enough that in 4 years we will have to give him a PhD. Like, he was not failing. He was not doing great, but he was like academically where you would expect a first-year PhD student to be. But I said, mark my word, I work with predators. If we give him a PhD, that's the guy that in that many years when he's a professor, we will hear is harassing, stalking, and sexually abusing of his, I thought would be his students at wherever university he ended. Because there was a performance issue in terms of TAing, a couple of us made the argument that that was the time to cut his funding and get him out. Because otherwise he was smart. I think that's probably the closest I can say to what my appraisal was of him as a person before we knew any of this.
No.
I thought he was a different type of creep. I really kind of missed it in that lens, but he was stalking people. Like, and my thing was like, if we give him a PhD and he gets to be a professor, can you imagine what being a student of him would look like? Like,
Professors hold a lot of power over their students because you're controlling their future, the future
Exactly.
outcome of where they can and cannot go.
yeah.
Some people abuse power, some people treat it like it's supposed to be treated. Very interesting. Okay, I know that's not a lot long term. That's exactly what I wanted to know. What if you had the view ahead of time and what your view was separated out from this incident?
So I mistakenly, and I did say in that meeting, because I was the logical choice for him to work with me because, again, of the closeness and research interest, and I said that I would not chair his dissertation. And if that meant, because that's, and we talked about this as a backup solution for kicking him out, because we were cutting his funding, right? And what that meant were he would not be paid for it anymore, but he could pay out of pocket to stay. But then our backup was, if he cannot form a committee, as in no one will share your dissertation, which I would have been, we can kick him out this way as well. And I said to my colleagues, I will not share his dissertation. I work with predators, like I don't put my name next to them, kind of thing. And actually, I made the joke about the predator thing, which in retrospective is not great. But hindsight is 2020.
And when was this meeting that you had these discussions? This was your December staff meeting, though, when you guys were discussing your grad students.
Yes, it was the last one. I can find the exact date. It's all of our faculty meetings are on Wednesdays. I can find the date if that would be useful.
And during that, though, it sounds like, and correct me if I'm wrong here, but it sounds like you guys were already looking at either trying to remove him from the program or get him to move on to another school, or...
Okay, the room was more divided than that.
Okay.
So a core of us really felt strongly that we needed to just, again, act now. Not everyone was so, like, that's rash to be cutting someone's funding after just 4 months. Some people thought the stalking behavior was not quite enough. They wanted more. So, another colleague say, oh, but poor Brian, he seems to have a self-esteem issue, which really pissed me off because, so what? Like, okay, you have a self-esteem issue. That's on you to fix. But, yeah.
How common is that to be discussing pulling funding for...
That has never happened before.
Okay, so this was unique.
Yep.
You've been there, what? But that has never occurred during your time here at the school.
I have seen someone else get their, their funding pulled, but that's literally because they stopped showing up to class. So, and it was much later. Like, it was not 4 months in. So
it's never been an active discussion to pull someone's funding or talk about if they cannot get their committee for their dissertation, they'll have to do something else.
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh, and again, a very random detail. The night before, because we had a potluck for Christmas, and I was late picking up my gift, so I was to Safeway late the night before that party, and I saw Brian there in the parking lot, and he was so lost in thought that I had to wave at him for literally 2 minutes, and then I was like, okay, I don't think it's him. And at some point he saw me and just and the next day he came and apologized, but he was very, very much deep in thought. He was like, was that you, the day after? And I was like, yes, that was me. And it got to the point of awkwardness because I was like, okay, I think I have the wrong guy. Yeah, but anyways, it was at Safeway very late that night. And I know that was past the murders and stuff.
Okay. I'm solid.
Yeah, if you don't have anything else for us, I think that pretty well answers our questions. So.
Okay.
Well, thank you so much for your time.
Really appreciate
and all of these have been insightful for this. It's definitely been a unique case for this area. We don't see this around this area often, thank goodness. However, we might want just to verify.
Is that the FERPA?
Did they come to you in a professional? Yeah, boy, I'm gonna struggle. How's this? Would you reach out to this grad student? Are they grad? Okay, I'm assuming again we would have already had interviews with that individual. Mm-hmm. However, same thing as the one that came out crying. If you could reach out to that individual and ask them, have they interviewed, and especially in the context, was that relayed to them that someone had broken into her house? She has interviewed. Just ask her the question, if someone did you relay that during the interview?
Okay.
We would be interested. Extremely interested.
And
in something like that.
I remember telling her, I think you need to report this because it was so weird what was stolen that it seemed like to me.
Right.
And I'm, again, might be pure speculation. I have no indication that he did.
And I don't want to stereotype and stuff. We're on college campus. There's a lot of people that come to college campuses specifically for criminal activities like such, or they find an opportunity and they jump.
I know. Yes.
There's a million reasons. However, we don't know those reasons for certain, and everything needs to be looked into.
Okay.
That would be of interest.
Okay.
And I apologize, I had already shut the recorder off, but you said that a female student came to you and reported, and this was September, October timeframe,
Yeah.
that somebody had broken in and stolen some intimate items.
Yes.
Okay.
And that she was very scared. And
Rightfully so.
yeah.
And are you aware, did she report this?
I did not. I remember telling her, I really think it needs to be at least on the police radar, because there's a theory with escalation, specifically with fetish burglaries, right? But yeah, I don't know that she did.
Okay.
Did she share with you what was taken?
I remember. But I'm not. Again,
Okay.
it's not super clear in my head.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
No, I'm good.